And we're going to zoom in a little bit more on anicca this morning. That is to say, impermanence, one of the three marks of existence. We'll definitely spend at least this whole week. Who knows? Who knows? Part of the reason is, that we're not in a rush with you, We can actually take our time. Where are we going? Well, what's to get through? So we're going to take our time. And the other reason is that you can practice mindfulness for a long time, as I did, and not do real intense kind of meditation or investigation into these three characteristics, as we explored last week. We'd rather not. They're rather disruptive, these characteristics. We'd like to look into them a little bit, but not too much. Not too much. Thank you very much. I kind of like things the way they are. And so, and yet the Buddha emphasized the importance, that there's no deep insight without deep insight into these three characteristics. Yeah, which means there's no deep freedom without deep insight into these three characteristics. Yeah, that's why. But we need to understand our resistance to it before we can do it. Before we say, oh, this is why I don't want to look too closely at impermanence. Of course, this is part of this being human, not wanting to look at impermanence too closely, Yeah. And the thing about impermanence is, because we understand it cognitively, we get it. All things must pass. Remember that George Harrison song? All things must pass. Yeah, we know it. Of course we know it. Of course we understand it on some very basic and general level. Yeah. But we like to leave it at that. Yeah. What we don't want to look into is how little we are in control. In general, we don't want to look into how little we are in control of what's going on. That's why it's challenging to look into these three. Yeah. And the thing about impermanence is we have nothing to say about it. It's not things are changing because I'm looking at them the wrong way or thinking about them in the wrong way. And only if I kind of just could adjust my attitude, they wouldn't change anymore. You know what I mean? They're changing. They're marks of existence. They're not marks of my attitude about the situation. They're marks of existence, that things are constantly changing, not just hour to hour or day to day, which we understand that, but moment to moment, not just moment to minute, second to second. There's nothing but radical impermanence, radical change, constant change here. And of course, some of our dukkha, which we'll also spend a lot of time in, is wanting to be more in control of the stuff that we're not in control of. Yeah, and doubling down on our wanting to control. Yeah. But we know we can't stop the hands of time. We kind of know it. Yeah, but we're still wired to see things as permanent, to hold on, to grip, to kind of position ourselves in relative kind of permanence. Yeah? It's understandable. It's so understandable. Plus, there's this whole negativity thing around impermanence. It's like, who wants, if everything's falling apart, if everything's changing all the time, if everything's constantly going over the waterfall, if everything is only about building sandcastles that are going to be washed away by the next incoming tide, what's the point? Right? We could fall into that space. And of course, the Buddha recommended that we not fall into that space, And this slant can be toward, oh, I don't want to look because it makes me sad. I don't want to look because it makes me feel out of control and it makes me feel sad. One of the chants, we actually had this. Everyone. We had a smallish wedding, I would say, about 45 or 50 people, and we had everybody do this chant. It was more of a Buddhist ceremony than not, but this chant, it's a well-known one, and it's mostly in the Zen tradition, but it comes from a sutra, Buddhist sutra. So you should view this fleeting world. Here's how the chant goes. Here's how the chant goes. So you should view this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. So you should view this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. And it's repeated over and over and over again. So we don't forget. It's all passing, it's all passing, it's all passing all the time, all the time, all the time. So in Zen, there's a strong emphasis on this, yeah? And there are meditations, some of the early meditations too, the traditional meditations, we just don't want to do them. We don't want to do graveyard meditations. We don't want to do, let's go to a graveyard and watch corpses in various stages of decay meditations, do we? Not in this culture. It was recommended back then, another reminder. Listen, we're not here for a long time. Look, the average lifespan was in the high 30s in the Buddha's time. There was death everywhere, and there was no penicillin. So there's a real emphasis on, we've got to look into this. We've got to make a relationship with this. We've got to get in touch with a certain kind of spiritual urgency. Yeah. But all that can be kind of heavy. All that can be kind of heavy. And the other side, what I want to mention though, the other side, and we emphasize this side a lot, and we'll emphasize it with you, is things aren't just passing away, they're also arising. Arising and passing away. One of the deeper insights when we start to get into the micro, looking really, really closely. Okay, let me zero in. We're going to do some zeroing in here too in our meditations. It's not just that things are gone over the waterfall. It's that the next thing is arising. Thank goodness. It's not just that the breath goes out, the next one comes back in. Okay? And we can't stop it. This is what we can't stop. We can't stop things falling away, going over the waterfall, but we also can't stop things arising. What's arising? Right now, something's arising. It's a thought, a sensation, a feeling, another thought, another sensation, a feeling, a sound, an understanding. See, it's the arising too, right? It keeps coming. It's the inflow. It's the inflow, not just the outflow. Now, that's the other side of impermanence, is the arising, The whole picture is arising and passing away. Arise, it's gone. A new one arises, gone. Another one arises, gone. This is what's going on all the time. It's what's going on all the time. It's what's going on all the time in our psyche. But we don't quite notice that unless we actually turn our attention directly to it. We'd rather that's not where we naturally go when we close our eyes, noticing how things are vanishing and arising, is it? No. We go to stories. We go to meaning. We make meaning in different ways. We organize in different ways. We push and pull in different ways. We orchestrate in different ways, that's our way. That's our way. But what we'll do together is start to look more closely, not just into the vanishing, possibly nihilistic aspect of things disappearing, but also the continual arising as well, arising and passing. So the quote that I want to leave you with, and we'll meditate then, and it's one that you have perhaps heard us mention this before. It's a William Blake quote. Actually, it's one of his favorite stanzas of mine, which is, and it captures this dance here. He who binds to himself a joy, I'll read it twice. He who binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy. But he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. Yeah? So much of the three characteristics are right here. He who binds to himself a joy, clutches, craves, grasps, does the winged life destroy, creates suffering to hold too tightly. But he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. That's not nihilistic, kissing the joy as it flies. That's honoring reality, and it's honoring also the sense of wonder and the miracle of the continual arising that we also have no control over. Things are going to continue to arise until they don't. Yeah? And it's also beginning to appreciate the miracle of that. Yes, nothing stays, but also things keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. And how do we relate to all of that?